Well, good evening. It is just after Shabbat, so for you Christians and you heathen, it's Saturday night. Go do whatever it is you do on Saturday night. Um, and events over the past several weeks have really got me thinking how far away from Yeshua we actually are. Um, so, just briefly, I started out my journey decades ago, came to a point where I really don't see any difference between immunah of an Orthodox Jew or faith of a Christian believer, because it's the same God. Um, but that doesn't seem to be good enough for anyone, um, because that's precisely where the battle begins. I have this and you don't. I'm a chosen person and you aren't. I'm a spirit-filled believer and you're not. You go to this church on Sunday and I go on Shabbat to a synagogue. And it's all just identity politics, and it has nothing to do with actually following the Ruach. Um, so we've chosen a new spiritual leader at my local congregation, and that is a very, very good thing. And he is a very good man, and he will probably bring, um, he'll definitely bring family because he's got a wife and 8 kids. So in that way, the congregation will continue at least for another 2 decades. So that's awesomeness. And being somewhat cynical, I can't think that's not part of the reason he's been accepted so quickly. But during the discussions, uh, we now realize that about 15% of the participants in our local congregation, vision bearers, right, members of the synagogue, um, feel rejected in one form or another, basically by those claiming to be Messianic Jews, which is ironic. So let's just remember, Jesus was Jewish. Um, his apostles followed him, I think 11 out of the 12, 10 out of the 12, to their deaths because they so believed in him. And actually, I think the perfect example is the table waiter, right? Stephen, I think his name who was just preaching the gospel and they stoned him to death for it. In other words, preaching the good news. Um, so it sort of pains me that we're still in this, so 25% of my blood roughly is Jewish, as near as the DNA test can tell. And that's enough for Hitler to gas me in an oven, but it's not enough for me to be Jewish. Number one, the number one thing the Orthodox would tell you is because, well, your mother isn't Jewish. But they only started tracing the line after World War II because you know the mother of the child, and you never know for sure the father of the child unless you do a DNA test which until the last 50 years wasn't even possible. Please don't go down the crazy road of, oh my God, they're manipulating my DNA. Yeah, they probably are. That's not what this is about. Um, what this is about is that what I love about my little synagogue is the worship and the unity in worship. Um, what I don't like is what we as humans do, and I'm no different. Well, I can't date this person because she doesn't have this exact belief system that I have. That's just moronic. So anyway, I bemoan that a little bit. At the same time, I will go out on a limb and say that well, actually, I won't, because I don't know any of you, and you may have not have my best interests at heart. So I won't. Um, what I will say is, as pertaining to just three quick things about tariffs and all the rest. A value-added tax is a tariff. I don't know why the United States of America is stuck in essentially a post-World War II mentality where we're somehow supposed to carry the weight of the world. And it's okay if the people in the middle of the country went from making $52 an hour 20 years ago building cars to making $7 an hour working at 7-Eleven now. But there just seems to be this propensity, and it's all tied in together, whether it's your local church or congregation or your place of employment, or I mean, come on, Teslas were the best electric cars ever made, and the left loved them right up until the point that Doge started targeting their waste, fraud, and abuse. So I guess what this means is that we would rather cling to superficial things in our little religious factions, and in the world at large, rather than look within and go, yeah, okay, this isn't good. And I know there's a lot of folks waking up and going, hey, this is really wrong. So-and-so, my sister told me that a friend of hers works at NIH, and she lost her job. Yeah, but they gave her, like 2 months of severance pay. When I lose a job, it's usually without notice, and there's no severance, and they make it as hard as they possibly can for me to get employment somewhere else. I was looking at my resume, and I've literally had 30 jobs. And I get background tested on average. I mean, FBI, fingerprinted, background tested, security clearance 4 times a year on average. And you have to adapt a lifestyle of going in, doing your thing, disrupting what needs to be disrupted, holding a mirror up to people. And these aren't evil people as you would define it. They're your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your son, your daughter. And yet they cling to these things that are so outmoded because of Jesus Christ, Yeshua Mashiach. He came, he rent the veil between God and man in two, so that you no longer need a high priest, which does away with Catholicism right off the bat. But then you go, oh, I'm messianic, and what do? You look for a spiritual leader. You who have the Holy Spirit in you, the Ruach HaKodesh, you look for a spiritual leader. It's no different than Moses was the only one to go up the whole way up the mountain to be with the Lord. And by the way, he didn't start doing that till he was 80 years old. At 40, he was still impetuous. Oh, and he was raised in an Egyptian court palace, right? That's how he could deal with Pharaoh, because he knew the ways, because he grew up in that. And he impetuously, impulsively killed an Egyptian. And what do you have to do? Go into the desert for 4 decades, 40 years. I spent the last 3 months in a trailer in a relatively mild winter compared to Idaho standards, northern Idaho standards. And I did not like it one bit. So if you're in a system where you've never had to get another job for 20 or 30 years, I would say to you that you are part of this evil world system. I think it's that simple. And you've co-opted yourself to a point where you can't even feel that anymore. We got people, we just had this long discussion. It brought out, how people feel left out and they're not Jewish enough, and, are they Messianic? Oh, but they're Christians. Oh, and you have a better this, that, the other, blah, 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 blah. We got people that I know are not Jewish pretending to be Jewish. It's just ludicrous. Like, Peter did this. It's in the New Testament. This is at least as old as 2,000 plus years of Brit Hadashah. You go to a small church, it starts to grow, and then you gotta very quickly you start pushing people out, because you can't tolerate even open questions that are asked honestly, and that seems to me to be a complete lack of faith in what God has put you here to do. I just would like people to take a look at that. That's all. I'm not whistleblowing on anybody. I just would like people to introspect a little bit. I knew, and I totally like the new guy, if that matters at all to anybody, which it shouldn't, by the way. But that's not why I brought up what I brought up at my congregation. I brought it up because Jesus said, heaven rejoices more at the shepherd finding the one lost sheep that's unrighteous than the 99 who were righteous. And what I see is, in a nutshell, we didn't get to where we are because of the evil. We got to where we are in this country, the nation, the world, because the righteous didn't do anything. And it's always because it's not in my bailiwick, not my job. I would put it to you that Jesus said it is your job. It's your job. It's your job. And sometimes that means that you're going to have to go up against something, whether it's a vote you know you're not going to win just to make a point, or you have to realize whatever system you're working in, you might have to take a hit for the Gipper. They may not even realize you're doing a good thing. That's just how it is. So tomorrow I'm going to go to my little cleanup day, because it's not so much that they need my expertise. I can barely cut a square corner. I'm not that fantastic with computers, and mostly I just stumble through life. But there are good people there, and I have never asked them, was your mother Jewish? Because I don't know if I can associate with you if she wasn't. Doesn't sound right, does it, when you put it like that? Shalom.